In the self-justice system, lack of awareness-based offenses are considered especially heinous. In the Chicago City, the dedicated dudes that investigate these vicious, unmindful felonies are members of an elite squad known as the Accountability Unit. These are their stories.
Today's discussion: will boosting police hours on the CTA, Chicago Transit Authority, by 75% make trains safer? Some riders are skeptical. It reads: some communities say more officers could make trains feel safer, while others say the problems they see on the system require addressing homelessness and access to social services. I would be with the second group. The larger problem is the homelessness, and I'm not just referring to the older people. I'm referring to a lot of young people as well, males and females, who are homeless and see the trains as a safe haven to do as they please, to whom they please. And access to social services would be the actual solution. So, why is the topic boosting police hours on the train? You see, this is an age old problem, and not just here in Chicago, but just all over society, period. They they being the powers that be seem to believe that police states and you know, taking a chainsaw when a scalpel would do to the situation is the fix, is the answer. And typically, people with those type of mindsets are those who are not in the trenches. They've had um, they've had experience in the trenches, but they're not in the trenches, because being in the trenches, you understand on a day to day basis, week to week basis, month to month basis, and this includes yearly, to further understand what solution must be implemented, and they're not there. It is the equivalent of a non-service member, meaning no armies, no marines, etc., speaking on armies and marines business. It's impossible for them to know what it's like because they have not been there day to day, month to month, second to second, year to year. Writers across Chicago say safety problems on CTA trains are real, but they're divided on whether the agency's latest plan to increase policing on trains will actually fix them. It won't. It won't, because I've seen the same idiots that's sexually assaulting people and selling whatever, weed, cigarettes, black and miles, alcohol, literally selling alcohol shots on the train. Do what they want to do, all in the presence of Chicago police and the external canine units from a different security company. I've witnessed them holding the doors to allow their friends and compadres on and off the train. I've seen people smoking everything on those trains. It's so bad that the regular people who wouldn't dare smoke on a CTA train now feel comfortable smoking on a CTA train as a result of the young idiots smoking. I mean, when I say smoking on it, I mean smoking it out. The whole entire car is smoky. Cigarettes, Black and Miles, and reefer. Let's continue. The CTA unveiled an expanded security plan last week after federal officials warned its agency could lose $50 million grant if it didn't take stronger action to improve safety on the system. The proposal includes an increase in police patrol hours, the deployment of Cook County Sheriff's deputies on trains, new fare enforcement measures aimed at reducing fare evasion, and additional social service outreach to transit passengers in crisis. Now, that's a lot to unpack there. Now, I have witnessed the Cook County Sheriffs on there with their cams, getting everybody's picture and going from car to car. But I'm not really sure if they've done anything different than the Chicago police nor the K9 patrol. They're just there looking intimidating to those who will get intimidated. Me being a security professional, they wasn't intimidating at all, in my opinion. But then again, I'm not the idiots on the trains doing the idiot shit. Some commuters say a stronger law enforcement presence could help deter disruptive behavior and make riders feel safer. Others are skeptical, arguing that many of the issues they encounter on the trains stem from deeper problems like homelessness, addiction, and untreated mental illness. As the CTA's changes take shape, riders across the city say their experiences on trains, ranging from routine commutes to unsettling encounters, are shaping how they feel about the agency's approach. I'm with them 100% on that because um, to make them law enforcement to make people feel safer has never been a thing. No one has felt safe uh, from law enforcement's presence, aside from those who are mostly palm colored, if you get my gist. And even then, when it's until one of the same law enforcement personnel does something to one of them, then they have a problem with it, and now all of a sudden they don't feel safe. So it's a catch 22 um, with that. And yeah, the deeper issues are homelessness, addiction, and untreated mental illness. I was traveling on a train. I got off pretty late, and it was a chick on the train, a melanated sister, and she stank so bad. She smelled like feet and sweat and feces and feminine odor, um, like unwashed feminine odor. And she was lying down on across three seats. And not only was she lying down across three seats, she was talking to herself rather loudly. She was flipping and flopping and contorting herself like she was at a circus, a Cirque du Soleil, for those who know what that means. And showing how flexible she was and things of that nature. And then I realized that she was doing that because I was watching her, and the positions that she was flexing into were sexually suggestive. And what that told me is that some of them same young cats that's homeless and smoking weed and stealing everything and harming people had to be messing with her in that type of way for her to look at me, see that I'm looking at her, and start making suggestive poses um, on the train as I watched her. So yeah, the issues on the trains feel deeper than just needing more police, Kaylee Wyant said. A lot of people causing problems seem like they need mental health services or intervention, and I'm skeptical about adding more officers will really address that. And she's right, just as I mentioned earlier. You know, a lot of these people they need other things. I'm not necessarily saying medication. I'm not necessarily saying jail, but they need something that a lot of agencies in Chicago and Illinois, period, have removed. There's a lot of mental health institutions that are shut down. When they started those projects, well, project buildings with all of that nonsense going on. When they tore those down, all of those crackheads and alcoholics and mentally ill males and females, old and young, they spread it out all over the city. And now we have a citywide problem, all because of the projects. And there's a reason why those buildings were called the projects, with 99.999% of people being melanated. Okay, it was a project, all right. And now we out here in the layman world, the real world, non-project world, are feeling the effects of the projects. And to the people who are listeners who lived in the projects, make no mistake about it. Living in the projects, living around the projects, it's in a you're in a whole different world, a whole different world. I stayed there briefly, renting a room from somebody, way back in the day, and yeah, it takes some adjustments to getting used to the everyday occurrences within the building and outside of the building and around the surrounding areas. And this including shopping trips, laundromats. Every outing is an adventure. Federal officials have been pressuring the CTA for months to strengthen security on the transit system after a man set a 26-year-old woman on fire aboard a Blue Line train in November, a case that the leader of the Federal Transit Administration said highlighted systemic failures in safety oversight. That is an understatement, by the way. That is a complete understatement. Because what about before that occurred? What about the safety issues before that? You see, this is, I believe, what is called a red herring. You know, anyway, in December, the federal government warned the CTA it could lose $50 million in funding unless it produced a stronger security enhancement plan. The agency initially responded by increasing the number of Chicago police officers patrolling transit from 77 to 120 people per day and expanding security dog patrols. But federal officials deemed the plan materially deficient. You don't say. You don't say. Anyway, this concludes this video and the article. The rest of the article is linked down in the description. I appreciate you for joining me here on Rastaz Realities, and salute to the Rastaz Reliables. Those are those who are subscribed and comment from time to time. Salute to you.